Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If Guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the movie of What If Genius Issei was Reincarnated Devil. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Today was probably the best day of my life. I had spent the day on my first ever date with my first ever girlfriend. Imagine that, me Hayato Issei, member of the infamous perverted trio of Kyo Academy, who through the sheer power of my libido stood equal amongst the two other members of this brotherhood of teenage lust and perversion even without the special abilities possessed by the other members, Matsuda and Madohama, whose parents cried themselves to sleep at night reflecting on their failures in raising their child and had long ago resigned themselves to never having any grandchildren they prop on their knee and tell stories to, who had cried tears of joy upon the news of my girlfriend and spent 2 hours on their knees thanking every god they could think of that they might have a chance of actually seeing grandchildren. I am not a very good person, am I? Well, that changes now. I just spent an entire day with a pretty girl. Take that former 17 years of loneliness in my right hand. The day was picture perfect. Even with me being so nervous, I went to the meeting place 3 hours in advance and somehow ended up being accosted by some busty girl in a bat-themed outfit who shoved a flyer with a weird magic-y looking circle in my face when I tried to avoid her. I took it with me just so she would stop. From then things only got better. I met up with her and we did everything a high school couple were supposed to do on a date. Hell, I even did it all in the right order. Seriously, I checked through many female magazines in my quest to plan this date, and even though I was exposed to the horrors of makeup liar's powder, I managed to glean the information I needed to plan for this date, even though I will never again look at makeup the same way. But I digress. All good things had to come to end and our date was no exception. So here I was, in a deserted park at just the right time in the evening to see the sun hit the horizon in a beautiful picturesque explosion of orange, yellow, and red. Strangely enough, it was her who requested we end the date at this location and at this timing. Her name was Amano Yuma. Evening days, how very poetic. Yuma separated from where she was linked around my arm and ran ahead to a fountain. I had a lot of fun today. She turned around and said, smiling, I'm happy. Hey Issei, she continued, that sweet smile still on her face. Yes Yuma, I have a request for our first date. Can you listen to my wish? For her, for this beautiful creature in front of me, for Yuma, anything. Of course Yuma, go ahead. Here it comes. Time to make mom and dad proud. Will you die for me? Wait, what? That smile on her face, it was still there but now it seemed to grow decreasingly innocent and happy and more sinister. I'm sorry Yuma, could you say that again? I'm afraid I might have heard you wrong. At least I hoped I was wrong. Will you die for me? She repeated, that same increasingly sinister smile on her face. Okay, not wrong then. Fuck. She took my silence as a cue to transform. Yes, transform. She grew taller, her features sharper, her figure far more buxom. The clothes she wore disappeared and in their place were strips of leather barely covering her body and a twisted caricature of clothing and armor. Black wings like that of a crow sprouted from her back. Wow, those boobs. Wait, no, focus. Flapping her wings, she took flight a few meters into the air. All the while with the smile that was now a sneer of superiority marred her features. Motes of light gathered in her hand to make a spear. Just by looking I could tell it was deadly, but most of all I could feel the power in the spear. It would be a bad idea to get hit by that. She threw the spear. I tried to dodge but before I could move, the spear had embedded itself in my stomach. It was fun, like playing house with a child. The spear dispersed into motes of light and left a gaping, bleeding hole in my stomach. Blood poured forth from my mortal wound as I sank to my knees, strength having long left my legs. Why indeed, when I would have given you the world should you have asked. She smiled, a faux innocent smile. Because you are a threat to us. If you want to blame anyone, blame the god that put the sacred gear in you. I collapsed onto the ground. She turned and flew off, not bothering to even give my dying corpse another glance. So this is how it ends, alone, bleeding out from a hole in my guts, slain by the woman I loved. I feel so cold. Mother, father, forgive your son for having brought nothing but shame to you. Forgive me for not being able to give you grandchildren. Matsuda, Madohama, sorry I can't watch the TV with you. Please take my porn and destroy it. Don't let it see the light of day. Guess I won't be able to grope breasts after all. Why does it have to be me? Why do I have to die? Sacred gear. Don't give me that shit, I don't even know what the fuck that is. Am I going to die just because something thinks I'm going to be a threat to them because of something that I may possess? Fuck that, fuck this. I want to live. Why me? The tears of frustration flowed freely down my face. With all my strength I moved my left hand into the air, with all my heart I wished. I want to live. It was barely a whisper, the death throes of an unfortunate young man. My vision began to fade, all feeling began to fade. A pair of soft hands gripped my own, they belonged to the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. Her hair was the deepest crimson, and was the last thing I ever saw as I died. So this was what death felt like, cold, dark, drifting weightless in an endless void separated from light and life. Time was meaningless as I slumbered. It felt like I had been sleeping for both 5 minutes and 5 centuries at the same time. I could feel all the strength of my life fading into oblivion, all my memories, what made me, what I used, needed to identify myself as the being known as Issei fading away, corrupted and eroded by the dark endless sea of blackness that surrounded me. I knew, deep down in my soul I knew, I was passing over into death. My memories, deeds, preferences, perversions, nothing mattered in the face of this erosion of my identity as I knew I was dead, and the dead carried nothing from their lives. A red screen appeared, just as the last of me was fading, just as I was about to pass over into true death. Just as abruptly, the erosion of my identity stopped. The void now seemed to be in complete stasis. I turned my attention to the red screen. Devilization, 100%. Devil reincarnation complete. What? Resources allocated, 8x pawn. Pawn, as in chess. Physical reconstruction, 10%. 35%. 67%. 98%. 100%. Physical reconstruction complete. Wait, what? Spiritual reconstruction, 14%. 45%. 72%. 100%. Spiritual reconstruction complete. Now hold the fuck up. Welcome, former non-devil sentient being. You have shed the trappings of your former race and have now been reincarnated as a devil. A devil? But first, a brief history of the evil peace system used to reincarnate non-devils into devils. Well, it's info, I guess. After the Great War, the race of devilkind had lost many of their forces, and since natural reproduction was incapable of replenishing their numbers, the evil peace system was created to allow for other races to be reincarnated as devils for the purpose of bolstering their numbers. And thus I am now a devil. Unlike other devils, however, you have the pleasure of being the first user of the evil peace's super-secret hidden function, the game-based statistical distribution, personal growth, and vitality regulation interface. Meaning, in short, you will live the rest of your new life as a video game character. I honestly don't know what to make of this. Unlike other devils, your body has been restructured to enable usage of the GBSDP-GVR interface. Your previous body has been scanned and the statistical data has been imported into your new body. Your imported stats are Strength 3, Dexterity 5, Constitution 8, Intelligence 15, Wisdom 2, Spirit 0. While I'm weak, as a reincarnated devil you are stronger than most humans. You were revived with 8 pawn pieces. As such you gain a bonus to your stats for each pawn piece used. However, only 1 pawn piece has been set to active, as such you gain Strength 5, Dexterity 5, Constitution 5, Spirit 2. Would you like to attempt an override of the evil peace settings? Looking at my stats, I'm probably going to need all the boosts I can get. Yes, attempt override. Attempting override, 3%, 9%, 18%, 27%. Error. Complete override failed, only 1 additional pawn piece unlocked. Stat bonus. Strength, 10. Dexterity, 10. Constitution, 10. Spirit, 4. Current stats. Strength, 13. Dexterity, 15. Constitution, 18. Intelligence, 15. Wisdom, 2. Spirit, 4. Better than nothing, I guess. On to an explanation of what the stats govern. Strength, physical strength. Dexterity, agility and speed. Constitution, stamina and toughness. Intelligence, logic and memory. Wisdom, social intelligence and spiritual attunement. Spirit, raw magical power. You are now given 5 free points to allocate amongst your stats. 5 points are given every time you level up. You can level up by gaining the XP, which is gained by defeating enemies and completing quests. Strength, 13. Dexterity, 15. Constitution, 18. Intelligence, 15. Wisdom, 2. Spirit, 4. Points, 5. Well shit, what do I do? I mean, with the devil boost my physical attributes aren't so bad, so they are not really a priority. That just leaves wisdom and spirit. As much as I want to fling around magical balls of complete destruction, wisdom is cripplingly low. Seeing as how it affects magical control, even if I did put points into spirit, my magical ball of destruction might blow up in my face. Right, I have decided. Strength, 13. Dexterity, 15. Constitution, 18. Intelligence, 15. Wisdom, 6. Spirit, 5. Points, 0. All points have been allocated. Finalize. Yes, statistical distribution complete. Commencing scan for sacred gears. 10%. 47%. 100%. Sacred gear detected. Wait a moment, sacred gear. Name, boosted gear. Location, left arm. Type, Longinus, dragon. Current form, twice critical. Warning, sentient being detected within sacred gear. Seal or establish comlink. I don't see why not. I mean, perhaps it could help me. Establish comlink. Establishing comlink, 6%, 48%, 76%, 100%. Comlink established. Alright, nearly done. Lastly, there are several basic voice commands that are necessary for you to learn in order to use the gamer interface. Help brings out the help menu in case you need to review the commands. Inventory calls out your very own personal hammer space, providing you with access to infinite storage space that breaks the laws of physics. Status calls out a window showing your current stats and all your information. Skills calls out a window displaying all your learned skills. This is all very convenient. And we are done. Here is your final status sheet. Name, Issei. Level 1. exp 0 divided by 1000. Age 17. HP 230 over 230. MP 50 over 50. Strength 13. Dexterity 15. Constitution 18. Intelligence 15. Wisdom 6. Spirit 5. Sacred gear, boosted gear. Are you ready to start your new life? Here goes nothing. Yes, one final red window appeared. Good luck. And then I was rushing upwards, pulled forth from the depths by a force I could not perceive. All around me the shadowy sea acted like quicksand, attempting to suck me back down, unwilling to let this mortal man return to the land of the living. But it was futile. It could only slow but not stop the immense pulling force that was wrenching me upwards, and then I saw it. The boundary between life and death, existence and non-existence. It was shimmering white, like the surface of an ocean viewed from the depths. The force pulled me to the white shimmering wall, and I met it with open arms. My eyes shot open. Looking down, I saw that my stomach no longer had a hole, and all at once my memories returned, smashing into me with the full weight of my existence. All that made me returned. Then it was over, and I laughed. I laughed, a delirious, maddening laughter emanating from every fiber of my being. I laughed. Even as the tears of pure joy and exhilaration streamed down my face, I laughed. I had seen death and returned to the land of the living, and faced with the full weight of my existence, I could only laugh with joy at the undeniable fact that I exist, that I live once again. And for the first time in 17 years, I felt truly alive. Truly this was the best day of my life and the first day of my new existence. Game on. I noticed that I saw things a lot clearer. I didn't mean that in a mental sense, I meant that in a physical sense. Like even though it was at night and I awoke at a secluded park with very little lighting, I was still able to see as if it was as clear as day, hell better than day. It was like I had highly advanced optics shrunken down and shoved in my eyes. Well, might as well put it to use. I took a look around. I saw that there was no blood on the floor, nor was there any on my clothes. Which was strange considering I was pushing up daisies with a hole in my stomach. You would think there at the very least be some blood staining the floor or the nearby fountain, but nope, no blood stains. Floor just as pristine as secluded public park floors could get. If I was really revived as a devil, whoever did the reviving must have some pretty convenient magic. Along with the night vision, I must say being a devil definitely has its perks. I took one final look around, taking in the atmosphere of the place I died. I began to take my leave. Then a red window appeared. New quest, the first night. Survive the walk home and learn from the tutorial. Reward, 5,000 EXP, 5,000 yen. Survive. That is very, very ominous indeed. But I get good EXP in cash, EXP which can be used to power up my character, and I also get a tutorial. This seems almost too good to not have any complications. But I am feeling very greedy tonight. Note, in the future you will have the option to accept and refuse quests, however this quest has been automatically started for you. I sighed. Guess all that contemplation was moot point. I began to walk home, and new windows kept on fucking appearing to inform me of details of my new existence, occasionally asking me to call up different menus like this one I had been ignoring for quite some time. Please call up your status menu. I stopped, sighed once again, and proceeded to call up the menu. Name, Hayatu Issei. Level 1. Exp 0 divided by 1000. Age 17. HP 230 over 230. MP 50 over 50. MP region 6 MP divided by min. Money 0 yen. Strength 13. Dexterity 15. Constitution 18. Intelligence 15. Wisdom 6. Spirit 5. Free points 0. Sacred gear, boosted gear. I noticed that there were a few new additions to the status window and that a new window had appeared to explain what these changes were. Money, it makes the world go round, and you can rob a bank and store the moolah in your inventory. It is a measure of how money you have stored in your inventory. MP region, the rate which your MP regenerates. Dependent on wisdom. Free points, you gain 5 points to allocate to your stats every time you level up. For each points you put in, you improve by a certain amount. Note, stats can also be increased by conventional training, so get grinding you gamer you. Now close the window by voice command. I closed the window, took a few steps around the block, and a new window appeared. Sigh. Please call up your skill menu. With no alternative, as the bloody thing would not disappear unless I did as it asked, I called up the window. I saw in the window that I currently had 3 skills. Observe LVL 1. Cost 0 MP. Performs an analysis of the target. Details depend on skill level. Language LVL 1. Passive skill. An ability possessed by devils allowing them to speak any language. Higher levels will extend translation to written language as well. Gamer Constitution LVL Max. Passive skill. Lows for usage of gamer interface. A new window appeared to perform exposition for my benefit. Skills are the things you are able to do converted into a game-like form. All skills have levels, and the higher your level, the better you perform the skill. New skills can be learned through performing actions or by absorbing the knowledge of a book. Note, absorbing the knowledge of some books can also improve the current level of skills you already possess. Now close this window and go forth, mighty hero, on the first steps of your journey. Absolutely fantastic. Now if you would actually let me take a few steps without a fucking window appearing, that would be great, thank you so much. Bloody tosser of a gamer interface designer. A few fucking steps, is that too much to ask? Let me start from the beginning. After the previous window I continued on my merry way home. A few steps later, I bore witness to a kidnapping. Yep, this is my life now. A beautiful woman was on the opposite side of the street, and was walking by these three guys who were leaning against a wall in a vague formation with a set distance in between each person. The guy in the middle grabbed her from behind as soon as she walked past him, and the other two immediately moved to back him up should she try to escape. They all then rushed her into a convenient nearby alley. And lo behold, a window appeared. New quest, save the innocent. Maiden, defeat the 3 rapist mooks and save the maiden. Time to shine, hero. Reward, 2000 EXP, 3000 yen. Failure, death. On one hand I could pick no, go home, ignore the cries of help, crawl under and be embraced by the sweet comfort of my bed and live the rest of my life with the shame of knowing I could have done something but I did not. With that EXP though, and I just can't walk away, not after tonight. Yes, quest accepted. As this is a tutorial, you will get hints on how to proceed with the quest. This will not be so once the tutorial is complete. You have 2 options here, go and head on attack them or sneak and attack them with their pants down. Get it? Pants down. Seeing as how they're going to force feed her their sausages, that is not funny at all. Regardless, I will pick the option that has the least chance of death, meaning the stealth option. I made my way to the mouth of the alley and slowly peeked in. They were in middle of making comments on how hot she was and going through her handbag for her valuables. Looking around, I saw a heavy-looking pipe lying near a rubbish bin and picked it up. Hell, better than nothing. Taking another peek, I saw that they were still preoccupied and as such decided to make my move. I saw that they each had levels, names, but that didn't matter to me. They had to be stopped. Remembering the moves in the video games I played, I crouched down low and made my way to the one on the right, going through the handbag. The others were in the midst of tearing the woman's clothes off. I had to make my move fast. Ignoring the window that informed about some skill or another, I stood up behind the man form and with my new strength, slammed the pipe into the base of his spine. He collapsed like a sack of potatoes, his back bent at a weird angle. I might have just shattered his spine. Oh shit, he started screaming in agony. Oh fuck. His friends turned at the screams, their faces contorted with shock and horror at seeing their friend lying broken on the floor screaming for a release from the pain. Not on a no-no. I was just as shocked. I had no idea becoming a devil had granted me enough strength to shatter spines. Shock and horror soon gave way to rage as they caught sight of me and soon they were charging. Focus, focus, focus. I kicked away the one closest to me and swung at the one that was rushing with his fist cocked back. I caught him with a blow to the temple and left him with an indent caved into his skull. He did not get back up. I turned to the last one and saw that he was now crouched low, charging me with a knife, his face contorted in rage. I swung my pipe at the hand holding the knife when he got close enough but missed. He got in close and rammed the knife into my guts. Minus 25 HP. Fuck. I had dropped the pipe in shock when I got stabbed. He wasted no time and rammed the knife again, screaming something about vengeance. Minus 25 HP. Fuck me. I knew I could not take much more and so I caught his hand by the wrist. My other hand rammed into his solar plexus in an uppercut. He hit the floor, clutching his guts and puking onto the pavement. I could hear sobs coming from him. It's done, let it go, let it go, let it go. I looked down, expecting 2 grisly stab wounds in my abdomen, but there was nothing. A red window appeared to perform exposition. When you get injured, the wounds do not show on your physical body but rather are deducted from your HP. Isn't it convenient? Yes, very convenient indeed. Quest complete, save the innocent. Maiden. Reward, 3000 yen, 27 EXP. Note, additional 200 EXP per kill, 300 EXP per stealth kill. Level up, HP and MP refilled, 5 stat points given. Skills gained. Backstab LVL, 1. Attacking from the back allows for critical damage as well as a chance to instantly kill the victim. Chance increased with higher levels. Current chance, 30%. Cost, 1 MP. Stealth LVL, 1. Allows you to sneak. Higher levels have lesser noise produced and faster moving speed. Passive skill, Physical Endurance LVL, 2. Reduces the amount of damage you take from physical attacks. Current reduction, 6%. Passive skill, Melee Weapon Mastery LVL, 1. Affects how well you use melee weapons. Damage plus 10%. Attack speed plus 10%. Passive skill, well, I can level up when I get home. For now I should help the woman. I walked over to help her up and I noticed that she was indeed very beautiful and for some reason was wearing a surgical mask. She took the hand I offered her and I helped her up. You know, for someone who was nearly raped and just bore witness to someone beating up 3 people in an extremely brutal confrontation, she was rather calm. She looked me in the eyes, they seemed to sparkle in the moonlight. Any man would have been enraptured by the sight and I admit I was for a moment before I noticed something. The look in her eyes, they reminded me of her. She began to speak, her voice silky and smooth like velvet. Thank you for saving me. Behind that mask she gave what I assumed was a smile. No problem, miss, but listen, I have to go. Leave. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm being biased, maybe just maybe I was projecting my fear and hatred towards the woman who scorned my love and killed me at the end of our first date onto the woman before me. But despite all my justifications, all of the reasons I tried to give to convince myself that the woman was just a simple woman who meant me no harm, Deep down, in the primal depths of my mind, I just got a very, very bad feeling from this woman. And so I turned to walk away from her. Leaving her alone was absolutely not the gentlemanly thing to do, but deep down I just wanted to get away. Wait, I hope I don't regret this. Yes, you will. I turned around. Yes, do you think I am beautiful? What a strange thing to ask. R-U-N-A-W-A-Y, 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 R-U-N-A-W-A-Y. Yes, I do think you're beautiful. R-U-N, 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 R-U-N. She ripped her mask off, showing the large slit across her cheeks, wide open and filled impossibly sharp teeth. A manic, predatory glint in her eyes. How about now? Oh dear God, that mouth. Ouch, -5 HP. I took a step back and turned around to run, but somehow she was right in front of me. Bad boy. The large shears in her hands shot forth and sliced into my cheeks. Fuck. I fell onto my ass, my eyes still on the horrible creature in front of me. -30 HP. New quest, defeat the Kuchisei Kana. Reward, increased reputation with Yaokai faction, 2000 EXP, 10 yen. Failure, death. You cannot refuse this quest. Oh fuck. Why? The monster spoke. Why aren't you like me? The monster charged, her shears flashing bright with the reflected moonlight. Aimed to take my life. I fell beside the pipe from earlier. I picked it up and forced it in between the two blades of the shears. Hitting the fulcrum of the shears, I pushed her away, but not before she squeezed down on her shears and cut the pipe in two. I took this time to get to my feet, still clutching a portion of the pipe that now had a sharp, pointy end. Now how the fuck am I going to this? She charged forward, almost too quick for me to see but still too quick for me to dodge, and plunged the blades of her shears into my abdomen. She continued charging, however, and rammed me into a wall. -150 HP. She pulled the blades out. I collapsed onto the floor. She smiled. That horrid slit that was her mouth moved in a mockery of one. Now die. She aimed her shears. What the fuck? You heard me. Are you going to die on the very first night of your new life to this creature, this monster who by all rights is your inferior? Answer me, possessor of the boosted gear, partner of me, D-Drag the Heavenly Dragon. Answer me, Red Emperor, are you going to lie down and die? Answer me, devil. Fuck no. The shears shot forth, but I was faster. I grabbed her hands, holding them in place, preventing them from plunging into my flesh. My grip was iron. I stood up, looking the shocked creature in the eye the entire time. I pried the shears from her loosening grip, twirled it around, and plunged one of the blades into her right eye. I-I-G-H-H-H. She recoiled from me, hands working to pull the shears from her eye. How? Imagine the strongest position you can think of, and call out your sacred gear. Strongest position, huh? My mind went to when I was dying, my final act, my left hand in the air before she took hold of it. My posture went straight, my head held high, my left arm in front of me, my palm open, facing my foe. Boosted gear. I clenched my fist. Fire, green fire wreathed my arm. Power flowed from the depths of my soul into my left arm. The fire died out, leaving a thick, red, dragon-themed vambrace in its place. The vambrace left my fingers uncovered, and in the middle was a green jewel. It seemed to sparkle with life, with pure power. Boost. Power flowed into me, and I wasted no time. I rushed forward. My hand slammed into her solar plexus, and she doubled over. I grabbed the shears, ripped them out of her eye, and rammed them through the base of her neck, finishing her with my finger thrusting into her other undamaged eye at an upward angle, effectively lobotomizing her. She fell defeated, dead. I did it. I killed her. I won. I was alive. Plus 500 EXP. Level up. HP and MP refilled. 5 stat points given. Quest complete. Defeat the Kuchisei Kana. Reward. Increased reputation with Yaokai faction. 2000 EXP. 10 yen. Gain new skills. Unarmed mastery LVL. 1. Affects how well you fight without a weapon. Damage plus 10%. Attack speed plus 15%. Passive skill. Boosted gear affinity LVL. 1. Affects the power and form of the boosted gear. Each boost doubles all of your stats. Current form, twice critical. Max no. Of boosts, 1. MP cost per boost, 10. Physical endurance LVL increases by 2 levels. Why is the vambrace talking? You can hear me. Yes. Well, there goes the privacy of my internal monologue. Like this. Yes. Is there any way I can take of the vambra? Holy shit, it's disappearing. The vambrace dispersed into motes of green light. That thing is a sacred gear. It responds to your wishes. If you wish for it to appear, it will do so. If you wish for it to disappear, it will also do so. How very convenient, I internally remarked. Well, I should probably get going. I don't want to be caught at a murder scene. But first, a trophy. I went over to the man I had punched. He was softly whimpering, calling out for his mother. It made me feel sick. I took the knife that he had dropped and placed it in my inventory window. I then walked over to the monster that I had killed. Taking the overly large shears in my hand, I ripped them out of her neck. Well, let's get going. Can you explain a few things for me? You might want to take the scenic route. It's going to be a long story. And a long story it was indeed. His name is D-Drag the Welsh Dragon, one of the 2 heavenly dragons, and he had been sealed into a sacred gear after being killed by a coalition of the 3 factions of angels, fallen angels and devils. After a fight between him and the other heavenly dragon barged into their battlefield. Sacred gears were artifacts of great power created by the God of the Bible, gifted unto humans and only humans so that they could perform miracles. Some sacred gears were powerful enough to affect supernatural creatures. Oh, and I was now a devil, but I sort of knew that already, so yeah. Well, that was all of the information, in summary at least. I'm sure there were some details of my new existence that I missed. My best bet for more information, according to D-Dreg at least, was to seek out whoever it was that resurrected me. My current information on said mysterious benefactor, female, crimson hair, beautiful. What great info I have, this makes it so easy. Fortunately, I made it home in one piece. No raving lunatics, no insane cutthroat mutant women, no randomly popping quest windows. Just peace, quiet, and exposition given by a badass dragon. Awesome. My parents didn't wait up. I guess they were completely willing to turn a blind eye should I have skipped school the next day and stumbled back home at 2 p.m. reeking of sweat, sex, and alcohol. Mom and Dad, I smiled with mirth. I know, D-Dreg, I know. Not wanting to wake them, I quietly made my way up the stairs and into my room. I stripped down to my boxers. I was just so damn tired, I didn't want to bother taking a bath. I prepared to climb into bed, but yet again another window appeared. Sleeping. With your gamer body, you no longer require sleep under normal circumstances. However, activating your sacred gear has drained you spiritually, and thus it is highly recommended that you sleep tonight. Sleeping will restore your HP and MP to full. Wait, hold up. If I no longer need to sleep, I have at the very least 8 extra hours compared to everyone else to do things. And since my stats can increase through conventional training, oh yeah, it's grinding time. Well, maybe not tonight, but next time. That reminds me, I leveled up twice when I came home, thus completing the tutorial. I should use my stats. I called up the status menu. Name, Issei. Level, 5. Exp, 3205,000. Age, 17. HP, 680 over 680. MP, 150 over 150. MP region, 6 MP divided by men. Money, 18 yen. Strength, 13. Dexterity, 15. Constitution, 18. Intelligence, 15. Wisdom, 6. Spirit, 5. Free points, 20. Sacred gear, boosted gear. I'll refrain from putting points into my physical stats as I can just get them from grinding, but I have no way to grow my spirit, and how do you even train wisdom? I'll put 5 points in spirit and 4 points into wisdom, bringing them up to 10. Name, Issei. Level, 5. Exp, 3205,000. Age, 17. HP, 590 over 590. MP, 300 over 300. MP region, 10 MP divided by men. Money, 18 yen. Strength, 13. Dexterity, 15. Constitution, 18. Intelligence, 15. Wisdom, 10. Spirit, 10. Free points, 11. Sacred gear, boosted gear. I will leave the other points in reserve just in case I need that sudden boost while the new wisdom was working already. Yeah, apparently it's some super secret hidden function. Right, well, maybe the person who used the piece might be able to tell you more. But for now you need sleep. Sacred gear activation is very draining, even if it doesn't reflect on your MP bar. You look dead on your feet, get some rest. Alright, D-Dreg, fine. I climbed into bed, my head hit the pillow, and soon the grasp of sleep took me. Wake up, wake up. If you don't wake up, I'm going to kiss you. I slammed my palm down on the alarm clock and sat up on my bed. You have slept. HP and MP completely refilled. Note, you no longer suffer the effects of drowsiness just after waking up. Now you will always be fresh and ready to go, you irritating morning person you. But drowsily going back to sleep right after slamming down on your ringing alarm clock is one of the best feelings you could ever experience. Son of a bitch, I'm not even tired now. How the hell am I supposed to lazily crawl back under the bed and slumber for a few more fleeting moments before my mother comes up, drags me out of bed, and put me in a Boston crab hold until all the pain shakes the drowsiness away from my mind? There goes one of life's simple pleasures. Well, except for the Boston crab, that would just be plain masochism. Pain is not pleasure. Eyes, wake up. That was my mother calling me from downstairs. I took a look at the clock. I'm making good time. I'm up, Mom. Well, might as well get ready for school and the questions of how my date went. Well, good fucking morning to you, D-Dreg. Morning, Brett. Breakfast was a rather standard affair this morning in the Hayadu household. Quite frankly, it was too standard. There was no subtle prodding for answers from my mother, nor were there any less than subtle questions from my father. Seeing as how they both knew that I had my first ever date yesterday with my just as first ever girlfriend, you would think they would at the very least be slightly curious as to how it went. Considering it was a rare spark of hope for a grandchild that they spent 1 hour thanking every major and minor deity of the Japanese pantheon for, before moving on to thanking many foreign gods and the multitude of ancestors that the Hayadu line could bother to remember. It was weird. Yes, might as well. While they turned to look at me, my mother from the kitchen, my father from the other end of the table. They both looked tired, and my father looked especially cross to have his attention taken away from his morning paper. Well, here goes nothing. Aren't you guys going to ask me about the date? Crash, too. My mother stared at me in shock, dropping the plate and her hand on the floor. My father did a spit take with his coffee all over his newspaper. It took a while for them to regain speech faculties, and when they did, whattt, they were really loud. My mother was at my father's side immediately, somehow traveling from kitchen to table in a split second. And so began the verbal bombardment. When was your date? Who did you date? How did it go? How far did you get with her? Are we going to get grandchildren? The bombardment went on and on and on. Apparently they forgot that if you actually want answers from someone you're currently interrogating, you actually have to stop talking to let your victim answer you. Then they stopped, just as abruptly as they began, and grasped each other's hands and looked deep into each other's eyes. Adu-san, Aka-san. Wow, such passion, the look of absolute joy and hope on their faces, this oppressive, suffocating atmosphere. I guess they don't know I could have sworn that I told them about my date. They were still looking at each other with such passion. I should probably leave for school. Nodding my head in silent assent, I quietly slipped out of my chair, grabbed my bag, crouched down, made my way to the doorway to quietly put on my shoes, and snuck out of the house. Stealth skill has leveled up. My escape complete, I started on the way to the school I currently attended, Kyo Academy. It was a private school, just recently made a co-ed from an all-girls school. It still had a far greater majority of girls compared to guys. Around a 7-to-3 ratio for my year actually. I chose the school for a few reasons. It was reasonably close to home, it had good qualifications, and the many girls that made up the majority of the student body were smoking hot. Yes, I admit it. I, Hayatu Issei, alongside many of my fellow brothers in arms, had enrolled into Kyo Academy with express intention of making the members of the female student body into members of our harems. Of course, like most of my brothers in arms, I failed spectacularly in my endeavor. I blamed the pretty boys, of course, the ones that the girls practically threw themselves at. I hated them. They received all that attention from the girls, and yet never did they take advantage of all that attention. They still acted, pretended like they were the consummate gentlemen, like they didn't have their own lusts and perversions, like they did not desire the attention, like they were above us, especially that blonde bastard. But now, in death, resurrection, retrospect, and an additional 8 points of wisdom, perhaps I was wrong. Sure, having exceptionally good looks was a leg up compared to everyone else, but honestly, if all the good-looking guys were to, in full view of the female student populace, pore over every detail of the models in lewd magazines, loudly picking apart and critiquing every part of her body as if she was a work of art, piece of meat, argue in class over the separate virtues of flat chests and big breasts, get into another loud debate over breasts versus butts, and then loudly threaten to rape you in my mind when the girls express their fear and disgust. The girls would still hate them, even with their good looks. Now, my looks were pretty average as guys go, and my friends and I were guilty of all the above. Along with peeping on the girls while they were changing, yep, we peeped on the kendo club the most. Thinking about it now, that may be the reason why my constitution was so high. Both running away when we got caught and getting hit by their shinai when we failed must have contributed to it. But that is beside the point. The point is, perhaps the pretty boys weren't to blame. Maybe it was me. I was loud, rude, perverted, unashamed of my libido, and I treated all the women I came across not as people, but as objects of desire to ogle and obsess over. And not just me. While I know that me and the rest of the trio are extremes on the scale, most of the guys that attended Kyo Academy had enrolled because they heard of the low guy-to-girl ratio and they wanted get in on the action. Granted, they were not as open about it as my friends, and I were thus us having the lion's share of the hatred, but still. There is a reason why they say men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Stuff that seems painfully obvious to girls might not be as obvious to us guys. And while the guys may think that the girls didn't notice, oh no. Girls, they knew. And perhaps, just perhaps, the pretty boys weren't faking it. Maybe they really were gentlemen. Maybe they truly cared about the girls. Maybe really were that nice. And maybe they just knew how to hide their perversions behind a pretty face. Thinking about it now, from a girl's perspective, if majority of the guys you saw on a daily basis had hidden motives for most of their interactions with you, and then along comes a guy who was genuine, who truly cared about you and who really was nice, wouldn't you at the very least consider him a prospective partner? Now in Kyo Academy, couple that with the relatively small pool of available guys and the fact that said nice guy was also ridiculously good looking. Is it really such a stretch that the girls would do all they could to snag such a catch for themselves? They are only human after all, they would want what was best. Oh dear God, ouch, I just discovered why Kibi is popular. -5 HP. For uncovering one of the mysteries of life, you gain +1 to intelligence. What the fuck? I can do that, contemplate stuff and get free intelligence. Is this considered grinding for fucking intelligence? You know what, fuck it. Sigh. Knowing all of this, I know I should probably change, but I can't. I can't change my raging libido and perversions, but maybe at the very least I could have a bit of discretion regarding my hobbies. I am an unrepentant pervert, yes I admit it, but do I really need to rub the fact in the face of everyone I meet, to shout it out from the rooftops? For making a good, wise, tough decision, you gain +1 to wisdom. Oh come on, now you're just mocking me. Wait, what? I'm just trying out what I seem to hear you do constantly, narrate your life and surroundings. Also known as internal monologuing. I do not internally monologue. I retorted to the impudent dragon living in my left arm. See, you just did it, the dragon bemusedly pointed out. And again, this bastard. Okay, fine, yes I do internally monologue. Ding ding ding, the dragon wins once again. Oh yeah, partner, are you feeling alright? You don't look so good. What do you mean? I feel fine. Wait, yes, I do feel different, I feel weaker. Don't get me wrong, I still felt a hell lot more stronger than before I died, but compared to last night, I felt like a limp noodle. And so a helpful red window appeared to perform exposition. As devils are weak to light, being under direct sunlight will incur a penalty of 5 to your strength, dexterity, and constitution. As you get stronger, you will be able to perform at maximum capability under sunlight. Penalty is negated at level 8. Well shit, it's just 3 levels away. How the hell am I going to find enough quests or enemies to defeat? I mean, standard physical training is really just improvement of stats, not levels. In that same vein, I could potentially become very strong even with a low level. But seeing as how there is a fucking penalty, I am going to have to remedy the level issue. Remember, you're still going to have to try and find the devil that revived you. Maybe she can answer some of your questions, and maybe she has some work and quests for you to do. For the EXP. Yeah, that is a good idea. And so the demand for a quest produced a quest window. New quest, find the red-headed resurrector. Find the she-devil that brought you back to life. Time limit, 2 days. Reward, 15 OEXP. Failure, nil. Yes, for the EXP. Game logic indeed. Yeah, D-Drag. What do you mean, D-Drag? Like yesterday, when you were attacked by the Kuchisake, Anna, a quest to fight her off was created for you. Or like just now when the issue of having to find out who it was that revived you came up. A quest was created for you, then allowing you to either choose to search for her or to ignore the person that revived you. With an associated reward, allowing you to both further your goals and gain EXP to grow in strength. Are you telling me that if I were to find myself something of enough importance to do, it might turn into a quest that would allow me to gain rewards? Yes, whatever they use to revive you, it is absolute bullshit. Hey, come on, it's quick, convenient, spur-of-the-moment power-ups, what's not to like? I'll find whatever it benefits you anyways. Ding ding ding, human wins this round. Fucking twat. Yeah. A new window appeared. New quest, running late. You're running late for school. Next time, more walking, less internal monologuing. Time limit, 15 min. Success, 300 EXP. Failure, punishment from the student council. Oh fuck, shit, I gotta run for it. I took off using as much of my new strength as I could. Still, do you know how hard it is going to be to find a hot girl with crimson hair in Japan of all places? Apparently not very hard with half the fucking school ogling her. Let me start from the beginning. I managed to reach the school on time after sprinting full speed all the way, leaving me really winded by the time I reached the gate. Strangely enough, the fatigue disappeared very quickly and I was back to normal by the time I sat down at my desk. I also gained a few stats from sprinting all the way. +1 to dexterity, +2 to constitution. Following which, the other 2 members of the perverted trio, Matsuda and Madohama, slunked up to my desk and plopped down their latest pornographic acquisitions onto my table and started to ask for my thoughts and opinions regarding the females featured within. So much for being discreet. Fuck you, Murphy. I tried to get them to calm down and discuss the finer points of pornography somewhere else that wasn't both in class and in front of a whole group of girls. They started to check my temperature thinking I was sick. I continued my valiant attempt to get them to put the porn away so we could discuss it later in private. At this point they flipped out and proclaimed that I was not their friend Hayato Issei, but in fact was an alien parasite that had invaded his body to propagate the seed of my race directly into the wombs of nubile females, turning them into pleasure-addicted broodmothers that shall bring forth the alien soldiers that I would use as my army to subjugate Earth. Other than the obvious flaw in that plan that I didn't bother pointing out, wasn't that the plot of a hentai they watched yesterday and were trying to discuss with me in great detail about. Anyway, they were broken out of their ramblings and accusations when someone called out, "Oi, hey guys, it's Ria's Gremory." Everyone rushed to the window to get a look and something clicked in me. Fuck, how could I forget Ria's Gremory? Smoking hot school idol and one of the 2 great one-samas. She met all of the categories. Female, yep. Crimson red hair, check. Beautiful, enough to be idolized and put on a pedestal by the great majority of the student body, so check. I elbowed my way to the front to catch a glimpse. And then I saw the crimson-haired ruined princess, Ria's Gremory, LVL 31. And beside her was the priestess of thunder, Hajime Akino, LVL 25. Holy shit, those levels. Almost all of the people I came across had levels lower than 10. They were suspicious. The redhead stopped walking, turned her head towards the window, towards me. She smiled and continued on her way. Definitely suspicious. Before she could walk out of sight I used observe on her. It didn't reveal much considering the low level of the skill, but it revealed enough. The crimson-haired ruined princess. Name, Ria's Gremory, LVL 31. Race, pure-blooded devil. Desk, Ria's Gremory, smoking hot babe, pure-blooded devil and your king. Yeah, D-Drag, it's her. You know what to do. Yeah, I'll talk to her during lunch. Just what the fuck am I doing here? At lunch hour, as I was leaving to find Ria's Gremory, I was grabbed by Matsuda and Madohama and Frog marched to the area behind the kendo dojo where there was a small hole allowing you to peep into the changing room. It was our favorite peeping spot, and considering how many times we have been caught by the kendo club, I'm surprised that they didn't bother sealing the hole after every fucking time. They turned to me and spoke in hushed tones. You keep claiming to be Issei, now prove it. I know for sure that Issei would not pass up this chance to stare at girls at their most vulnerable. This was a very bad idea, but they had blocked off my escape route, and attempting to fight them off would result in the kendo club hearing us, which would result in us being subjected to their punishments for peeping. Besides, they were my friends and just looked so adamant about their accusations of me being an alien parasite inhabiting the body of their friend. They looked like they truly believed that by peeping I could prove that I was really their friend. Oh, for fuck's sake, fine. Sighing, I moved into position and peeked through the hole. On the other side was my lust, my desire given form. Girls, naked girls everywhere, wonderful and beautiful in their variety. Breasts, big, small, anywhere in between, were right there for the ogling. In a small niggling part of my mind I knew it was wrong and a very bad idea to keep on gawking, but I just couldn't help myself. Issei, I had no idea how long I had been staring for this, but that didn't matter, for right in front of me were boobs, oppai. I was brought back to earth by a blow to the head. Minus 10 HP. Oh, what the fuck, man. The perpetrator, Matsuda, had a momentary look of shock and fear before shushing me. But it was too late. From the other side I could hear them. It's them, the perverted trio. Let's get them. Oh fuck. They rushed out in record time, quickly surrounding us. One of their leaders spoke. Their sins have gone unpunished for too long. The other leader also added in her 2 cents. Let their sins be cleansed. Through crotch violence. New quest, caught by the kendoists. You've been a naughty boy, you peeping Tom, you. Either have the entire kendo club admit defeat or escape and hide for at least 30 minutes. Should they find you, the timer will be reset. Reward, 3000 EXP, 5000 yen. Failure, gratuitous crotch violence visited upon your crotch, arrested by law enforcement. Bonus, defeat Murayama for extra 1000 EXP, defeat Kades for extra 1000 EXP. Note, rendering them incapable of fighting by either knocking them out or disarming them is sufficient to count as them admitting defeat. Using lethal force will fail the quest and attract law enforcement attention. Also, falling to 10 HP and below will automatically fail the quest. Oh fuck me. They charged and I started to move. I ran my way through the weakest link of their encirclement, plowing into her with the full weight of my momentum. We collapsed in a sprawl of limbs, but I managed to land on top. I wrenched the shinai out of her hands and jumped off her, weapon in hand, ready to face the others who were still staring in shock at the fact that I actually bothered fighting back rather than just running away. Plus 100 EXP. I noticed that was exactly what Matsuda and Madohama were doing actually, now that I had the full attention of the kendo club. Fair weather fucks. I took the time to analyze the opposition. There were a total of 14 people left on the other side. Most were around level 4 with the 2 leaders, Murayama and Kades, at levels 7 and 8 respectively. So I was outnumbered, suffering a penalty from the sunlight and unable to use my sacred gear, as that would most likely lead to me crushing their spines with my doubled already superhuman strength. In short, I was in deep shit. Fuck. Think. Right, I have to maneuver so that I can use their numerical superiority against them. As much as they hated me, they really only had so much space with which they could attack me. I estimate that as long as I could keep myself from being surrounded by my attackers, at most only 3 or 4 could attack me at a time. I have to move and position myself so that those 3 or 4 would end up getting in each other's way, allowing me to use my superior strength to disarm or incapacitate the 1 or 2 who could engage me. But first I have to take the initiative. The strategy above was for the long term. I took a glance at my recently acquired shinai. I admit I was no swordsman, and should I try to compete with these girls in a contest of pure swordsmanship, I would most likely lose. Granted, I had a melee mastery skill that allowed me to better use weapons, but honestly, it wasn't enough. All I could do was swing it about better, faster, more efficiently, but compared to girls who have had training in the proper technique in using a sword, who knew all the little tricks and techniques involved with the wielding of a blade, I would get my ass kicked. But there was a way I could turn that to my favor. In a fight, people reacted the way they were trained to. If I attacked them in a way that was unfamiliar, they would probably not be able to react appropriately. I had a plan. Not a very well thought out one, but a plan nonetheless. For coming up with a solution under the stress of combat, you gain +2 to intelligence. I ignored the window, took the initiative once again, and charged towards the one closest to me. I charged, one hand on the handle of the shinai, the other on the blade, and locked blades with her. Not giving her time to recover, I used my superior strength to force her shinai to the side, following which I used one of my hands to quickly pull the shinai out of her hands, then kicked her in the abdomen, sending her sprawled onto the ground. Plus 100 EXP. I now had a shinai in each hand, and someone was charging from the right with their shinai held high, aiming for a heavy blow downwards. Reacting on instinct, I hit her shinai away as it came down in an attempt to hit my head, and slammed my other shinai down on her wrist, causing her to drop the shinai. Plus 100 EXP. New skills gained. Dual wielding LVL 1. A skill that allows you to use 2 weapons at once. Damage plus 5%. Attack speed plus 20%. Note, the bonuses of this skill are retroactive with bonuses granted by other weapon masteries. Also, dual wielding also works with your bare hands. You've got 2 of them, don't you? Ardius. I was still moving, by the way. Time had not stopped to allow me to contemplate the skill. They were still after me like rabid dogs out for blood. Heh, dogs, bitches, heh. I was rewarded with a blow to the shoulder for that bad joke. Minus 10 HP. Well, anyways, I was still maneuvering, making it so that only a few could attack, dodging when possible, parrying and batting away blows when I could, and taking hits when all else failed. I was now on the defensive, waiting for someone to break away from the crowd and be vulnerable. 150 HP. The 2 shinai in my hands now felt a hell lot more comfortable, like I had become more familiar with them somehow. I noticed that yes, my speed in wielding the weapons had increased, but not because I had gotten faster per se, but rather because my movements had become far more efficient. Less wasted movements meant faster parries and attacks. Dual wielding has leveled up. Melee weapon mastery has leveled up. My opportunity came when the crowd had momentarily backed off and the 2 leaders of the group, Murayama and Kades, charged at me together. They were both much stronger than the average kendo club member. I had to take them out quickly. I rushed towards them, meeting them head on. I rushed forward and smashed downwards with both shinai, pushing past Murayama's guard with one shinai and smacking her head with the other. Kades did not waste time, however, landed a heavy blow on my back. Plus 200 EXP. The momentum of my strike along with the force of her blow floored me. 50 HP. Physical endurance has leveled up. I dropped the shinai in shock of my sudden acquaintance with the ground. I felt another blow land on the back of my head and knew I had to move. Minus 30 HP. I rolled on the floor, dodging the blows that rained down, and quickly got back up on my feet. I wasted no time and rushed her. She raised her shinai for a strike. I closed in, took the hit, grabbed the hem of her kendo uniform and pulled her in, headbutting her. 30 HP. I pulled the shinai out of her hands while she was still disorientated and sent it colliding into her torso, sending her to the floor. Plus 250 EXP. I looked back towards the 10 who were understandably far more reluctant to engage, and they were whispering amongst themselves, trying to egg themselves on. Oi oi, why are we just standing about? But he took down the captain. We can't fight him. I can't have that happen. I'm already so fucking exhausted taking on a third of their forces. How the hell am I going to defeat all of them? Wait, do I have to defeat them? I checked the quest window again and smiled. It was for them to admit defeat, not just defeat. But how? I am an asshole for even thinking about doing this. I began by getting their attention. Hey, all of you, I said in the best creepy, arrogant voice I could manage. They turned to look at me. I gave them a smile. Once I am done fighting all of you, I am going to have a lot of fun stripping you all naked and fucking you silly. Channeling all of the pervert I could muster, my smile turned into a twisted, perverted leer. My eyes narrowed, wandering over their voluptuous figures barely concealed by their hastily thrown-on kendo uniforms. My gaze promising violation upon violation should they even dare to challenge me. The faces of the girls paled. They looked at their fallen comrades, then at me. Back to their comrades and then back at me. My leer only grew more sinister and I started to lick my lips. I am going to enjoy the taste of your flesh. At that, they ran, screaming, abandoning their comrades to their doom. NOOO. Get away from Oos. New skill gained. Intimidate LVL1. This skills allows you to attempt to intimidate anyone, from bouncers to little children. Intimidation gets more and more frightening the higher the skills level. Plus 1000 EXP level up, HP and MP refilled, 5 stat points given. Quest complete, caught by the kendoists. Reward, 5000 EXP, 5000 yen. I am not a good person. I looked at the girls I had defeated, who were now huddled against each other for comfort, looking at me while shaking in fear. I guess it worked too well. I am a bad person. I bowed and said a single word. Sorry. I ran. I was an asshole. And I felt like one. I ran back to class, feeling nothing but overwhelming shame. After school I went about trying to find out more about Ria's Gremory. It really wasn't hard, with her being placed on a pedestal and idolized by practically the whole school. A lot of guys wanted to fuck her, and a lot of the girls either wanted to fuck her or be like her. So it wasn't hard to eavesdrop on a conversation regarding, well, everything about her. I had to listen to 15 minutes of a guy discussing her creamy white legs before catching him saying that he wished he could join the Occult Research Club so he could get a chance to be near her. So, the Occult Research Club, huh? Devils researching the occult, for fuck's sake they are the occult. It also wasn't hard to find the location of the club, the old school building in a secluded part of the school. I still had a lot of time, so I decided to pay her a visit. I knocked on the door, and waited. I continued knocking and before long the door was opened. She gave me a ladylike smile. Hello, can I help you? She was Hanjima Akino, second of the 2 great one-samas, model of the perfect Japanese lady, best friend to Ria's Gremory and possibly a devil. I gave her a polite smile and replied, Hello senpai, my name is Hayao Issei, I am here to see Ria's Gremory. Her eyes narrowed. Ara, may I ask for the reason you are looking for her? Akino, who is that? A voice called from within. It's Hayao Issei-kun. Akino replied back inside. There was silence for a moment before the voice from within replied. Please let him in. She turned back to me and gave me a polite smile. Please, come in. Thank you. I stepped into the lion's den. The old school building had looked very run down from the outside, but on the inside, it was lavishly furnished, to the point where it looked more like the living room of a very affluent old money family rather than a school clubroom. If that old money family paid people to paint ridiculously complicated-looking magic circles all over the floors. A club running on a school budget should not have been able to furnish everything to this extent, and most certainly would not have been able to afford this wonderfully comfortable couch. A couch that I was currently seated on, sipping the tea placed in front of me by Akino, who was now at her friend's side. In the room were 4 people excluding me. Starting from the youngest, there was Taoju Kaneko, first-year student and super cute mascot of the Kyo Academy. Quite frankly, she looked like she belonged in an elementary school rather than a high school, and she was currently eating a yaukin while staring at me. I used observe. Name, Taoju Kaneko, Shiren. LVL, 21. Race, Reincarnated Devil, Nekashu. Desk. This cute little cat is the rook of Ria's Grimoire. Watch out for her claws. Next we had Kiba Yudo, second-year student, number 1 pretty boy of Kyo Academy, nicknamed the Prince and currently the most eligible bachelor of Kyo Academy, chased by girls from years 3rd to 1st and quite possibly some of the younger female teachers. He looked rather puzzled but still gave me a dazzling smile. I resisted the urge to shout damn handsome. I mean, I can't exactly bring myself to like the guy, but at the very least I could be cordial. Observe. Name, Kiba Yudo. LVL, 23. Race, Reincarnated Devil. Desk. The Prince of Kyo Academy, with looks and manners that will make women swoon along with a dark past he constantly broods about, much to the delight of his fans. He is the Knight of Ria's Grimoire, followed by the previously introduced Himejima Akino. Observe. The Priestess of Thunder. Name, Himejima Akino. LVL, 27. Race, Reincarnated Devil, Fallen Angel. Desk. This young lady is definitely not a lady. Not at all. Also, she is the Queen of Ria's Grimoire. How very ominous. The skill observe has leveled up. And last but not least, Ria's Grimoire, the most desired girl on campus and possibly my resurrector. This group of people in front of me I will now dub the Crimson-Haired Beauty and her motley crew of devils. I noticed that 4 were looking at me with undisguised curiosity and puzzlement. I decided to break the ice. So this is some very well-brewed tea. The girl in question who made the tea smiled lightly and nodded her head, though she still looked a bit unsure. The redhead was the one who finally chose to speak. Hayaru-kun, why were there red screens randomly appearing in front of you? She looked as if that question undermined her sanity. I, on the other hand, did a spit take with a mouthful of tea. Akino moved to clean up the mess. I was still gawking. After I got over my shock enough to be coherent, I began to speak once again. You can see the windows? I asked, still shocked. No one could. Not a single person from the Kendo Club just now commented on the windows that suddenly appeared when I was fighting them. Well, yes, all of us can see it. Right, everyone? She asked, still looking perplexed and slightly hopeful that the people could confirm that she wasn't going insane. The 3 other members nodded. She sighed in relief. I just sighed. Well, I better start from the beginning. But first, can tell me the whole story of the 3 factions. I got a rundown, but there might some details I might have missed. I asked, hoping at the very least for a trade in information. She began to speak and thus began a long period of exposition of which the information could be summed up as such. There were 3 main factions among supernatural creatures: the devils, the fallen angels, and the normal angels. These 3 made up the biblical mythology group. There were also other factions in other mythologies, but they were largely irrelevant for this discussion. A long time ago, Armageddon happened and the 3 factions were at war with each other. There were massive casualties on all sides, and the devils had lost their leaders, the Mao, the 4 demons who ruled over 4 of the 7 cardinal sins: pride, lust, envy, and gluttony, also known as Lucifer, Asmodeus, Leviathan, and Beelzebub. As all sides had lost immeasurable numbers, they had agreed to an uneasy ceasefire. Having lost a great many of their numbers, the devils looked for a way to replenish them. The evil pieces were the solution. The evil pieces were designed as a set of chess pieces, and every high-class devil received a set. The evil pieces could be used to revive or reincarnate other races into devils. Thus each high-class devil could potentially have 15 elite soldiers. This was known as a peerage or dukedom. The leader of a peerage was known as the king, and Ria's Grimoire was the king of a peerage. A peerage that I and everyone else in this room was a part of. That therefore made her my king and master and everyone else in the room my peer. Did you understand all of that? I nodded my head. So, I guess I work for you now, Grimoire-senpai. Hayaru-kun, but you is a very kind master, you know. I suppose that was Akino's attempt at making me feel more comfortable with my new position. I waved her off. You don't need to do that, Himejima-senpai. I'm grateful to Grimoire-senpai for the second chance at life, and if I have to repay her by my servitude, then I will be happy to do so. Anyone would be, if they remembered exactly what death was like. Rias looked genuinely relieved at that. I'm glad that you are taking to your new life very well. I had originally planned to leave you alone for a few days, so that you get used to being a devil on your own. I remembered last night. Yeah, that probably wasn't the best idea, to be honest. Oh, may I ask why? How many newly reincarnated devils do you know had to fight off a Kuchisei-kana on the first night of their new existence? They were all staring at me, shock evident on their faces. Kaneko had stopped eating to stare at me intently. Riaz once again was the first to speak. That was you who killed that rabid yokai who was causing trouble in my territory. She seemed rather skeptical of me and what I had done. Might as well throw her a bone. It has something to with the red windows that keep appearing in front of me. She looked like she had just remembered to ask about the elephant in the room. Oh, right. I had almost forgotten to ask about that. Could you tell us about them? Seeing as how she had been honest so far and didn't leave out any details like I had asked, I told her everything. From what I remembered of my death to my revival, return to the physical realm, the events that had transpired last night and everything I knew about the gamer interface. She seemed impressed when I had told her about my defeat of the thugs, and was practically salivating when I told her about the boosted gear and my defeat of the Kuchisei-kana. Though now she seemed to be rather perplexed and in deep contemplation. After what seemed to be an eternity she spoke. I'm sorry, I really can't help much with your new situation, but if I know anything about the creator of the evil pieces, I would say it is perfectly in character for him to put in this super secret hidden function without telling anyone. Though I theorize that we are able to see the red windows because we are all members of the same peerage. She looked truly apologetic that she couldn't help me more, but I couldn't help but feel as if she was plotting something. Akino, yes but you. She turned and whispered something to her friend, attendee, and soon said girl was off. She came back a few moments later with a dusty black book. Riaz turned back to me, her face growing increasingly crafty and scheming. You said that you could absorb the knowledge in a book. Do you mind giving us a demonstration? I could tell that she was testing me, but honestly, I was kind of curious myself. I hadn't had the chance to find a book with absorbable knowledge, and this was as good an opportunity as any, so I didn't refuse. I agreed to her test and Akino handed me the book. A red window appeared when the book was in my hands. Skill book, ye old blackie magics. Absorb the knowledge contained within and destroy the book. I turned to Riaz, who was staring at the red window, and asked, Hey, Gremory-senpai, if I were to absorb the knowledge of the book I would destroy it. Is that fine with you? She turned to face me and replied slightly impatiently, It's fine, it was just gathering dust anyways. Well, okay then. I clicked yes. Instantly the knowledge of the book flooded into me. The power contained within became my own. The circle was the base of everything. If there was no circle, there was no spell. Everything that was supposed to happen in the spell was written within the circle, all the interconnected lines that formed a pattern. The kane forms, the runes, the little tiny squiggles in seemingly inconsequential places, the separate sub-circles that could be placed within the main circle. All of these things formed an equation that once was empowered by your magical power, could temporarily rewrite the very laws of reality. It was an extremely efficient method, designed to use the quite frankly meager amounts of magic power contained in most humans that had enough to even use magic at all, to maximum effect. From the knowledge gained from the book, I knew that what I just did should not be possible. All aspiring magicians, even the most talented, had to train for years. They had to use meditation to build a respectable base of magic power, had to do hours upon hours of high-level mathematics to train their minds to perform the calculations required for spells, had to train using visualization to gain the ability to hold an extremely complex image in their head, had to train to superimpose that image in the real world and pour just the right amount of magic power into the spell to power the equation. Too much and the results would be unpleasant. Too little and the spell would fizzle out and die. All this knowledge and skill that would have taken others years to attain, I had gained in 5 seconds flat. I was cheating, but I didn't care. I could use magic and it was fucking awesome. New skills gained. Spellcraft LVL 1. This skill represents your knowledge of and prowess with the system of spell casting created by Merlin Ambrosius. Allows for the casting of spells that have been either learnt or created by you. The spells that you can cast will be determined by your intelligence, as it requires calculation of the magical formulae. More complex spells means more complex calculations, therefore, greater intelligence. Also, bonuses will be applied automatically as per the skill level. No, of spells that can be cast at once, 1. Bonus to casting speed, 0%. Bonus to damage, 0%. Cost reduction, 0%. Meditation LVL, 1. This skill allows you to meditate to regain HP and MP, and also builds up a permanent bonus to MP according to skill level. Also, long periods of meditation can be used to train your wisdom and spirit. HP regen bonus, 100%. MP regen bonus, 150%. MP bonus, 10 MP. New function unlocked. Spellbook. Spells that have been learnt or created by you will be stored in the grimoire. The grimoire will give you a list of all your spells as well as an image of their casting circle and magical formulae. It will also break down all of the spells you gain into their formulaic components, cataloging them and providing you with resources from which you can craft new spells. As your INT stat increases, so will your ability to make and use better spells using the simplified spell creation interface provided within the grimoire. It's just drag, drop and calculate the modifications necessary, simple. So always remember to update your spellbook frequently. Also, you gain the ability to assign spells to voice-controlled macros. Normally, to cast a spell, you would need to refer to your grimoire, look up the spell that you needed to cast, select it, then cast the spell. That is just slow. Click to expand, no shit. Now macros allow you to skip the selection process and proceed straight to the spellcasting. There are 10 designated macro slots, M1 to M10. To use a macro, assign a spell to it, and when you need to cast the spell, just call out the macro slot. New spells learnt. Small magic bullet. Curse of illness. Curse of weariness. Hex of misfortune. Hex of misdirection. Summon familiar. Bind familiar. Basic defensive barrier. Click to expand my. This is very interesting. Indeed, Akino, very interesting indeed. Somehow, the two were now on either side of me. They were trying to read every window that had appeared to inform me of my new acquisitions of power. They pressed in closer to me to get a better view of the windows. Their boobs were squishing against my arms. This size, this shape, this softness, from both sides. Wow, Uppei. Kiba looked apologetic at their behavior. Kaneko was still eating, having long moved on to a new snack food, but took the time to pause, look at me in the eye, and deliver her Tsukomi. Hentai. HRK, the word struck straight into my heart. Critical damage sustained. Beware her claws, my arse. Beware the barbed wire-wrapped Tsukomi arrow that fires straight from her mouth and into your heart, more like. The two finally noticed what kind of effect they were having on my poor adolescent body and shared a giggle. My, Hayato-kun is so perverted. Akino teased. Hayato-kun, your nose is bleeding. Riaz looked very amused. Wait, what? I wiped my nose and looked at the red stains on my hands. What the fuck? I checked my HP and there was no decrease. Was there an arousal sensor built into my nose for the express purpose of showing the world how comically aroused I was by bleeding? Go eat a dick, designer. Hayato-kun, is everything alright? You look rather angry. It was Riaz that asked. She looked genuinely worried. If it was because of just now, we are really sorry. We were just teasing you, you know. Those sad faces. My caveman senses were tingling. No, it's a nothing really, please, it's not your fault, both of you. Please don't cry, please don't cry. Luckily they didn't, they just gave me very mischievous and teasing smiles from the other end of the table. Wait, weren't they beside me just now? Now Hayato-kun, there is something I need to discuss with you. Well, two things actually. Ignoring my internal confusion, she continued. The first is about Amano Yuma, your former girlfriend, the one that killed you. All of the previous arousal and fluster disappeared from my mind, my face went blank, my eyes cold, my body stiffened slightly. It seemed that everyone else in the room had noticed that change and there was now a palpable tension in the air. I decided to start with a question. I see, is there something you would like to tell me about her? Ria spoke up, taking responsibility for the atmosphere that she had caused. She is not human, but I guess that you could probably already tell that from the fact that she grew wings and killed you with a spear of light. Yes, I could. Now will you tell me something I don't know? Akino narrowed her eyes and was prepared to admonish me, but Riaz waved her off, deciding to take the rude tone in stride. She is a fallen angel, one of the enemies of our race. She probably killed you because of your sacred gear, feeling it to be a threat. That bitch killed me because of a fucking weapon planted in my soul. A weapon that, should I have awakened it, would never be turned against her, the woman I loved. A weapon that, should she have asked, I would have gladly turned against her enemies. Calm down. She seemed surprised that I had such strong feelings regarding being stabbed in the gut by a fallen angel because of my sacred gear. She started to explain herself. Let her speak. I just wanted to warn you about her. Now that you are a devil, she has a much greater reason to kill you since you are now enemies on the opposite side of a three-way war. Also, even though she has fallen from grace, she still retains the ability to use the power of light which we devils are weak to. I see, so Riaz is just worried about me, huh? I may have been out of line just now. Yes, you were. And what about my parents? Why can't they remember her? The fallen angels had tried to remove any trace of their presence. To do so, they must have erased your parents' memories. I see, I should apologize to her. I am sorry. I see, it seems that I owe you an apology for my rudeness. This is a very difficult topic for me. Do you mind if we change it? Like, what was the other thing you wanted to talk to me about? Change the topic, please. She gave me a patient smile. It's all right, Hayato-kun. The other thing is about what happened this afternoon during lunch period. The issue with the kendo club. Oh, damn it. You saw all of it then. Yes, you really caused a lot of trouble for us, you know. They were so traumatized we needed to erase their memories. Ara, I had no idea you were so villainous, Hayato-kun. Wow, that bad. Hentai-senpai. Ouch, Kaneko, ouch. I had to give most of them hugs before we could actually hypnotize them. Kiba added in. Once again I resisted the urge to shout, damn you handsome. As a member of this peerage, I will do my best to keep you out of trouble. While I am pleased that you know how to handle yourself, there will be punishments should things like this continue to happen. So please, don't do something like that again. Riaz finished primly. Beside her, Akino giggled. I involuntarily shuddered at her giggle. Scary. Now then, Hayato-kun, as the newest member of my peerage, you will join the Occult Research Club starting today. The Occult Research Club. Isn't it rather ironic for the occult to research the occult? Her smile was slightly patronizing. It's just a cover for my peerage to operate in this school. We usually use it as an excuse to get out of class. That is very, very convenient. I should sneak a portable game system in my inventory. And as the newest devil of this peerage, Kaneko plopped down a stack of flyers onto the tables. I will have you deliver these flyers to prospective clients. I normally get my familiar to do this, but as a new devil, this is an initiation for you. I sighed. I was probably going to get a quest out of this. Work already? I asked, more as a rhetorical question. But of course, contracting is a major source of income for devils. Most humans can't draw a magic circle to summon us, so this flyer makes things simpler for them. She took a look at the clock. It's getting late. I'll explain more about contracting another time, but for now you better get started on the delivery. She smiled at me, looking very crafty and tempting once again. I might have a few books on magic lying around that I'll give to you when you get back. She added as an extra incentive. Wow, as incentives go, that was pretty damn tempting. Wait, devil damn it, no wonder she is so good at this. More windows appeared. Quest complete, find the red-headed resurrector. Reward, 15 OEXP. Level up, HP and MP refilled, 5 stat points gained. New quest, grunt work for the errand boy. Initiation or unnecessary menial labor, it doesn't matter what you call it because you are still going to have to deliver these fucking flyers. Reward, 500 EXP, 5,000 yen, assorted books on magic. Riaz looked at the windows, then at me. I decided to answer her silent question. They're quest windows. They tell me about the quest that had been created when you asked me to deliver flyers. I see. What is the quest called? She still looked very unsure about the whole situation, and my guess was that that question was just a shot in the dark, an attempt to gain more knowledge on the gamer interface. Grunt work for the errand boy. Yep, I bet she was expecting something normal like flyer delivery or first job as a devil. Oh no, she hadn't experienced the naming sense of the designer yet. The creator is an asshole. I agree. My most sincere condolences. If it helps, I'll try to contact the creator of the evil pieces and get more information on your gamer interface. Thank you. Such a kind one, Sama. I clicked yes. I picked up the flyers and shoved them in my inventory. Here, take this along as well. Aquino passed me a handheld device. Observe. Name, handheld greed sensor. Desk, a device that detects high levels of greed, commonly used by devils to determine who is the most likely to summon them. This is a machine that senses greed, I stated. I looked at Riaz. Gremory-senpai, how does this thing work? I mean, emotions and desires aren't even quantifiable. She smiled rather patronizingly, like she was talking to a child. Hayaru-kun, we are devils. Our demonic energy-fueled powers are controlled by imagination. A way to quantify greed is well within our grasp. Seems that is as much of an answer I'm going to get. I sighed. A sigh like any other, just one of the many that have and will come out from my mouth. I stored the device in my inventory and turned to face them. Well, I guess I'll be off then. Goodbye, Gremory-senpai, Hanjima-senpai, Kiba-san, Taoju-san. Butchu. Call me Butchu. You are a member of this club after all. Also, feel free to call you Udo and Kaneko however you want. I see. Well then, feel free to call me Eyes, then it's a name for friends. She smiled at that. Okay then, Eyes-kun, come back soon. Right, bye Butchu. I left the clubroom, macroed a few spells just in case, and set off to be the devil's errand boy. Stats. Name, Hayaru Issei. Level, 7. Exp, 757,000th. Age, 17. HP, 762 over 762. MP, 360 over 360. MP region, 10 MP divided by min. Money, 23 yen. Strength, 13. Dexterity, 16. Constitution, 20. Intelligence, 18. Wisdom, 11. Spirit, 10. Free points, 21. Sacred gear, boosted gear. Dora do. Sprinting over to the point on the minimap, I found the house with the potential summoner and forcefully jammed the flyer into the mailbox. It was the last one I had, thankfully, because that was starting to get annoying. Upon leaving the school, I gained a minimap, and that from the greed detection device, which had been integrated into the system the moment I gained possession of it. Somehow, and by that, I meant an alarm that oh so kindly alerted me to the presence of a possible recipient of a summoning flyer, which was graphically represented as a dot on my minimap. So yes, it was completely unnecessary. I did appreciate the Kami no Mi reference. It sounded exactly like the Lou Soul alarm from the series, for a while, but there's so much I could take before amusement turns into boredom, and boredom into annoyance. I tried to removing it when I got close or just use it normally. At least that way the alarm wouldn't ring so loudly, and my head tried being the keyword. It didn't work. It still kept beeping when I got within a 100 meters radius of a dot. It beeped, and it continued beeping. Thing is, in a Japanese residential district the dots were never over 100 meters apart. After 125th house in a row, my annoyance turned to desperation and I cried for it to stop. I begged for mercy and reprieve, but it showed none. It took away my second most precious thing, my peace and quiet. In the end I had no choice. I ran. From house to house I ran, through alleys, rooftops, and backyards I sprinted, jumped and vaulted. Many were the points in dex and con just so that I could get that thing to stop beeping for one damn second. Plus 9 dex, plus 5 con. Sigh, I think all that self-locomotion through urban terrain gave me a Parker skill. I had received a whole pile of flyers and there were still dots on the minimap, dots that I will avoid at all cost. Thinking about it now, if contracts are a primary source of income for devils, and QO is chock full of people who might be greedy enough to summon devils, it would make a lot of sense for a devil to make this their territory. I mean, it would be profitable. There had to be at least 300 flyers in that pile that little Kaneko plopped down onto the table. Using a sample size of 100 people, I estimate around 10 people actually bothering to try out the summoning. Most would just think the flyer was rubbish and throw it away. Assuming that we answer the summoning and do whatever the hell it is that we do and get paid, we would earn a decent amount, and probably get summoned again. While I am not sure of the frequency with which we are summoned, nor am I sure of the prices that we charge, if Ria's Grimoire can afford half of the things in that club room, they probably earn enough. I begun on my way back to the club room. I was pretty far from the academy. Was the town always this large? I couldn't remember it from all the mad rush I was in to get that alarm to stop. I didn't even know we had that many people. Still, might as well play with the spell menu while I walk. I called it up and headed straight for the creation function. A window opened. In the middle was a circle. I understood it in mathematical terms to be the parentheses that would dictate the order pair of an equation. It dictated what and when it would happen when I poured in my magic power. Off to the sides there were other details. On the left was a list of spells that I already knew. On the right were components. When I received the spells from the spellbook, they were broken down, and all the components were neatly categorized and ready for my usage by pulling them into the circle. Of course, while I could just drag and drop them willy-nilly and let the components automatically connect with each other, the spell would be utter shit. If I fucked up enough, I theoretically could make a spell that would fire a single tiny noodle of magic at the cost of my entire MP bar. The components weren't the only thing that mattered. Where the components were placed, how each individual squiggle interacted with another, how smaller circles were connected to a bigger circle, and how everything was connected to each other. I mean, looking at a visual representation of a spell that I already knew helpfully provided for me by the spell creation interface, the small magic bullet, I understood. There was a definite structure to the equation of the spell. Everything was laid out in a proper sequence, each individual component working together in harmony to cause an effect on the world. I understood that what would happen was this: a bullet would be formed from ambient mana that had been drawn and combined with my own mana. Said bullet would be propelled forward at a sufficient velocity using my mana converted into kinetic force. Just from this alone there were many ways to modify the spell. I could make it so that the spell would form the bullet completely from ambient mana, reducing the MP cost but increasing the casting time. I could make it so multiple bullets would be formed. I could make it so that the bullet would be propelled at a higher velocity. I could make the bullets homing, but sadly I don't have the required spellcrafting resources, do I? For now I might as well try out some ideas I hit for spells. Navigating to the correct resources and carefully integrating the components in, I modified the small magic bullet to load an Curse of Illness into the formed bullet as well as up the velocity of the bullet a notch. Would you like to override the spell or create a new one? Hell no, create a new one. Please name the spell. Gander, I name it Gander. Tosaka Rin approves. A new spell has been created and stored in the grimoire. Now for another. For this one, I started afresh. I took all the curses and hexes I knew and combined their components into one big clusterfuck of malice and hatred of a spell. Save the spell. Do you really have to ask? Please name the spell. I smirked. Hex of the Lost Traveler. A new spell had been created and stored in the grimoire. I noticed that the curses were homing. I had an idea. I created a spell that would launch with constant acceleration. 6 bullets formed out of ambient mana that would home in on the target. I quickly got to the naming window and named it in a stroke of mad genius, Homing Shotgun Daka. Now I just need to test out these new spells on something. Oh, how rare to meet something like you on this darkest of nights. I turned to the voice and saw that it belonged to a man wearing a dark overcoat and a stupid fedora. Hatmook of Mooks. Donasik. LVL 17. This is not what I meant. Where is your master, lowly devil? Unless you're a stray. What's a stray? I asked him that and he seemed to consider for a moment before speaking. Oh, nothing to concern yourself with. Run along now, little devil. He smiled, a sickening condescending sneer that I really want to wipe off his face. But it's better if I don't. If he is what I think he is, embedding him in concrete could get real troublesome. I do my best to put on a smile. Is that so? Well, bye. And with that sentence of awkward faux politeness, I turned around to head home by another route. Before being interrupted by a window. New quest. Defeat the Hatmook of Mooks. Test out your new spells on this conveniently provided hat-desecrating douchebag. Reward, 1000 EXP, stupid fedora, increased standing amongst devils. Failure, possible death, lowered standing amongst fallen angels and devils. What the fuck? I turned around just in time to see the spear formed in his hand, and his arm cocked back for a throw. Boosted gear. Boost. I rolled to the side, narrowly dodging impalement. M1. The spell circle formed in front of me, 6 rounds of death in preparation to smite my enemy. The thing about the 6 projectiles that launched forth from the magic circle I had conjured was that they were bullets. They were not bolts and they were not arrows, they were bullets. Even if they were magically created out of ambient mana and would disperse if they made contact with anything that was too hard, flew towards my target at a constantly accelerating velocity instead of decelerating, and ignored the laws of aerodynamics by curving mid-flight, they still acted like how bullets would act if they were to hit a person. They did not explode like a bolt would have, they did not pierce and skewer like an arrow would. They impacted, they plowed through, only piercing into flesh because of the velocity with which they were propelled. And judging from the 6 bloody holes in Donasik's torso, they worked as advertised. but it wasn't enough. Against a normal human, these 6 bullets would have blown out pieces of both their lungs, left a hole where their heart used to be, blew off an arm by the shoulder joint, and left their intestines completely fubar. But Issei wasn't human. The bullets did some damage, yes, but nowhere near enough to kill him. If I am going to have to face guys like these on a regular basis in the future, I am going to make these bullets explosive. Or piercing. Piercing and explosive. Was that even possible? I mean, Warhammer 40 Kelvin did it. Silly me, what am I saying? It's magic, well-organized calculation-based magic, but magic nonetheless. Of course it is. I just have to find a way to write it into the spell equation, assuming of course my INT was enough to compute the spell. Well, maybe I could research more on it later when I'm not in a fight for my life against supernatural beings that clearly surpassed human capability. Shouldn't have missed that part when he, didn't die even after getting shot so many times. I put a mental note to research about magical beings that might be the enemies of devils and how to kill them as I dodged from a thrown spear of light by rolling to the side and cast a defensive barrier block another. It barely held against the force of the spear. The third ripped through and detonated right in my face. It's always the face, isn't it? I was flung back a few meters, the holy light stinging my face and arms, but the pain soon faded and I pushed myself up, landing in a low crouch. Brett, somehow through everything, his hat remained perched on his head. Even with him taking to the sky on his black wings, motes of light gathering into the vague form of a spear. This wasn't good, with him having an aerial advantage and the fact that I couldn't fly. Keep moving, Issei. Get in cover. The dragon didn't need to tell me twice. I jumped and rolled behind the nearest wall, taking full advantage of the urban environment. The spears embedded themselves as it landed on the surface, one in the spot where I had been standing before, another in the wall I was using as cover. Stepping out of cover, I prepared a spell. I didn't have time, so I chose a simple spell. The more complex a spell was, the longer it took to calculate and thus cast. The shotgun Daka spell didn't exactly take a lot of time, but it still wasn't fast enough for this situation, which was the equivalent of an urban magical shootout, with one guy having an aerial advantage. So I used another spell. Gander, the small bullet of magical energy now tainted red and black with the dark power and malicious intent of a curse loaded and weaved into the very mana that formed the bullet. It slammed into his form, his flight faltered for a second, his figure nearly falling out of the sky. He regained his balance. The spear thrown in response was hasty and haggard in form. I was already shifting out of its path. We continued like this for what seemed like an eternity, him trying to outmaneuver and flank me, and I shifting in and out of the dark alleys that provided me tactical cover, peppering him with magical bullets. I noticed that my spells were getting faster and easier to cast, that I was getting better. Subconsciously applying modifications to the calculations of my spells on the fly, my abilities increasing with every skill level that was so kindly informed to me from the randomly popping red windows. I got winged a few times because of these damn windows. I eventually got the ability to cast multiple spells simultaneously. It was weird. It was like thinking 2 different thoughts at the same time, or rather performing 2 calculations parallel to each other. Normally 2 calculations would be done one after the other in a sequence. It was a logical procession of events, like a train station with only one train track. However, now it was able to perform multiple calculations in parallel with each other. I now had multiple train tracks to run multiple trains of thought processes. It was awesome. How the hell did I go 17 years of my life without this? No longer will my mind be completely enraptured by the power of Issei. For now, I can think about boobies and other less important things at the same time. I want to do an evil laugh, but I am currently blowing holes in a douchebag with 2 ganders. So I'll settle for a psychotic smirk. You look creepy, stop that. You don't have what it takes to pull off a magnificent bastard. Ignoring the dragon. If I had to compare it to something, I would liken it to multi-core processor doing some sort of parallel computing. Now all I need is thought acceleration. New skill gained. Parallel thought LVL 1. Through the repeated casting of multiple spells at once, you have gained the ability to have multiple trains of thought at once. Additional spells macros 2. Additional no. Of spells that can be cast at once 1. INT bonus 20%. Passive skill. Holy shit. But like everything, it has its downsides. First off, it was hard. My mind strained to keep up with the task of computing parallel thoughts even with this. But a few points placed in intelligence helped with making the task significantly easier. Okay, scratch that. Make that a lot of points. Plus 11 INT. Though the spells I am using are quite simple. I bet I am still going to have some trouble with more complex spells cast simultaneously unless I up my INT stat even more. I am going to have to start grinding soon. Well, at least this bastard won't last much longer. After observing him a few times, all the illness curses are taking their toll on him, even with his resistance to mortal ailments. And I think that even he knew that. He was getting desperate, taking more risks in an attempt to expose and flank me. It worked a few times, causing pieces of my flesh to get carved out by light spears. Luckily, the gamer's body kept me from lasting, debilitating wounds. What I learned from that, and I peppered his body with bullets when he left himself open. Issei was not a gamer. He could bleed. He could have debilitating injuries. He did not have HP, and he was currently beset by the equivalent of status effects. If this kept up, he was going to die, and he knew it. But so did I dodged him ever more fervently, which was not a difficult task as injured as he was. With spells I continued to shower him, my fingers were now miming pistols. It was purely mental, helping me draw a bead on Donaseek. But it helped and, why are my hands glowing? New skill gained. Finger banged LVL, 1 swag. You channel in that John Woo son. Well, have no fear, cause demonic energy empowerment is here. Come on and get some swag brah. Peace. Spell damage bonus, 20%. Automatic Haman spells son. Passive swag bonus. MP cost, 1 MP. I don't know what this means, but I suddenly have the urge to wear sunglasses even though it's at night. And with the acquisition of the ability to finger bang, my accuracy increased. I started to guide my ganners to specific points. Towards the gaping wounds they flew, blood blackening and wounds festering as the illness within did its work. Eventually, like a puppet with its strings cut, Donaseek fell from sky to floor in a messy, defeated heap. He looked utterly pathetic, his body all but torn apart. Blood tainted with sickness and death leaked from every orifice. It's done, I have won. He did not even have the strength to look at me. Mercy. I stopped in my tracks. His words hit like a blow to my soul. He is the Gaul. Please spare me. He begs for mercy. Will you die for me? Mercy. It was fun, like playing house with a child. Please, where was my mercy? Because you are a threat to us. If you want to blame anyone, blame the god that put the sacred gear in you. No, where the hell was my mercy? Quest complete, defeat the Hat Mook of Mooks. Reward, 1000 EXP. Sacred gear has leveled up by 2 ranks. I don't care, these windows mean nothing to me. Donaseek dies now. I strode up to his collected form and kicked him in the stomach. He could barely whimper. I stomped on his kidneys and he could barely grunt. I stamped my foot on his upper back and he could barely gasp. I crushed the bones of his hands underneath my feet and he could barely scream. I grabbed the battered pinions of his wings and I could feel him stiffen. I smiled. I hated these black wings. No, RGGHH. He cut himself off with a scream that sent shivers down my spine as I ripped the 2 torn appendages out of their joints. I dropped the wings. Donaseek fell silent, his body convulsing from the pain, his mind either completely broken or unconscious. Whatever the case, I will finish the job. I conjured a spell. The Hex of the Lost Traveler was powerful indeed, but it was still currently too slow for the situation that I was in. But now, the massive ball of coalesced hatred and malice gathered in front of a conjured circle. His death was certain. Donaseek. A new voice cut in, and so did a light spear. A light spear that I blocked with a defensive barrier, while I shot forth a 3rd spell at the interloper as the hex finished casting and slammed into the prone form of Donaseek. It blew him into pieces, pieces that were rotten and festering with illness and hatred, the wound seeping a mixture of black ichor and pus. The interloper, she, now that I had a better look, stared in horror at the rotting pieces of the man, the comrade she tried to save. 6 bullets I sent flying in her direction broke out of her stupor. She dodged by taking to the air on wings of ebony. How dare you, devil, to strike one of our comrades? Her face was contorted in outrage. Anger bled off her lithe, sensual body. Another one. I don't have enough MP for this shit. I'll have to try and drive her into close-range combat. Perhaps I should clip her wings to prevent her from kiting my spells. Stop right there. And there goes all of my planning. I turned to see Riaz behind me, her hands crossed underneath her bust, her hair and school skirt billowing from the magic circle she used to teleport here. She looked well depending on your worldview, a spoiled smug princess who liked to think was sure of herself or a regal empress who just was. I honestly don't know myself. Her features contorted into shock, her eyes widened in alarm, her face went pale. She tried to reach me, but a sharp pain went through my stomach first. Gah! The spear of light dissipated and left a hole in my stomach. I bled. 0 divided by 812 HP. Evil peace interface shutting down. I collapsed to my knees. All my strength was leaving me. Is this how I'm going to die? Out of the corner of my eye I could see Riaz shooting black and red beams of energy at the female fallen angel, the fury of an empress wronged bleeding into her attacks. But that doesn't matter to me anymore. It feels so cold. All faded to black once again. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.